But I think the big thing is that where I'm coming from, that my father didn't have, I don't know how he raised we 6 kids. And if it wasn't for Aunt Helen and her business sense and the little money she took out of the business, that in order for my dad to have a little more, but I know that $200 a month was the most my dad ever had at any one time to take care of his family. And he lost his home and never owned another home until 1955. So we lived in rented property. We wore hand-down clothes that came down from relatives in Cincinnati that weren't as severely affected. Didn't have any impact on me. Most of the guys I grew up with didn't have it either. So we spent, what did we do with their time? Well, we played ball. There wasn't jobs that you could find. So we spent a lot of time on the river. We lived within a block of the river, or 4 blocks of the river. So come May 15th, it was always a holy day. We would go down and go shiny hiney, skinny dip into the river. And I'm telling you, it was cold. But we never owned a bathing suit till we came out of service in 1946. Us guys built little old flat bottom John boats. And in fact, when I was in the 8th grade, another friend of myself, my mother, had taken my brother Bill down to Cincinnati Children's Hospital to have his neck was growing over to one side, and took him down to have something clipped in here and put in a brace. He was only 6 years old. And Pop, anyway, this other guy and I on Sunday morning went 6 o'clock Mass. We got in that boat, and that's 120 miles down the river. We had a little 5-horsepower outboard motor and 14-foot boat. We took off and we got down, well, we were sunk by a paddle wheeler that was coming up the river about 10 miles below town, and we jumped in the water and got the boat over to shore and unloaded it and got the water out of it and got going again. We got down, we made 100 miles that day, because the river was up, the current was strong, probably 4 or 5 mile an hour current, and we didn't have to lock through the 5 dams to get that 100 miles in. So the next morning we got up and went on into Cincinnati and got a barge outfit to let us tie our boat up and take our motor off and store it. And we went uptown. I knew what streetcar to get on, and we took off to go out to my grandmother's, and we transferred to another streetcar to get there. And who gets on at the next stop but my mother? And of course she didn't at first see me, and I said, "Hi, Mom," and she said she wouldn't want to know what we were doing down there. Anyway, my uncles thought it was such a big deal. They had the local papers. When we left 4 days later to come back home, they put a picture on the front page of the paper, and we got up the river that day about 40 miles because we're going against the current. Rather than cook our meal on the riverbank, we walked up into town to buy a hamburger, and the people in the restaurant were looking at the paper and looking at us, and we didn't know that this had been published, and so we became celebrities in a little small town of Augusta, Kentucky.